CCTV America, I'm Mike Walter. United we stand, a strong showing of solidarity with Ukraine from leaders attending the NATO Summit. Stakes are high at the two-day summit, where the ongoing crisis in Ukraine tops the agenda. CCTV's Richard Bestick joins us live from Newport, Wales with the latest. Richard?
Mike, it has been an extraordinary day of diplomatic toing and froing. And the image that will remain in the memory of everybody that's here will be that of the president of the Ukraine, Petro Poroshenko, everywhere, meeting all the main players inside NATO. I've just come from a press conference where Mr. Poroshenko has said that he has had many promises given to him. Now, the significance of this is that NATO itself has been very careful to avoid the suggestion that it would provide lethal aid to the Ukraine army fighting rebel soldiers. NATO says supported by Russia in the east of the country. This is because it's not that kind of organization. But Poroshenko, in this press conference a few minutes ago, came out and said that he had had promises from member states, the heads of government and heads of state of member states of NATO, saying that not only would they provide logistics, not only would they provide defense against cyber attack, not only would they provide intelligence on the ground, but, this is the surprise, they would also supply lethal aid, as well as money to help in that campaign. But perhaps of all of this, the biggest message to Moscow comes from the very presence of Poroshenko at the very heart of NATO, as you'll see in this report.
NATO troopers carry the flags of the 28 member nations signed up to the military alliance for the start of a summit heavy on symbolism.
Russian troops are illegally in Ukraine. NATO is the anchor of our security. We must reinvigorate and refocus this alliance to tackle new threats and to ensure it continues to foster stability around the world.
Ukrainian President Petro Poroshenko may be the only head of state from a non-NATO country attending this summit. But in this orchestrated Russian outreach, those around the table with him suggest he has powerful friends. Although more than symbolism, what Poroshenko wants is weaponry, training and intelligence on the ground. And that may be harder to secure.
NATO as an alliance is not involved in delivery of equipment because we do not possess military capabilities.
As NATO leaders gathered around the table for this two-day summit, their position was unchanged. No military intervention and as yet no supply of arms, and caution as to talk of a ceasefire.
If recent statements from President Putin represent a genuine effort to find a political solution, I would welcome it, because that's exactly what we need, a constructive political process.
Possibly learning the lessons of history, US President Barack Obama and the summit's host UK Prime Minister David Cameron were on a visit to a local school in Wales. The pair acting in concert, warning against an isolationist view among NATO member states. Britain is considering providing arms and training to Kurdish forces fighting the self-proclaimed Islamic State in Iraq and Syria. But there'll be no payment for the release of a British hostage who Islamic State says it will kill in the same manner as two murdered American journalists. NATO talk is of an arc of instability from the Ukraine to Iraq and Syria, and certainly this summit appears inundated with regional conflicts.
Richard, it's interesting, you talked about Poroshenko, what he had to say about these promises, about lethal aid, but then you hear the NATO Secretary General in your report saying, we don't deliver equipment. It seems like we're getting mixed messages in a sense.
We are and we aren't, Mike. The NATO organization, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, 65 years old today, or rather this year, is an organisation that provides the coordination of the member states, the 28 member states. It doesn't provide the hardware. And what Poroshenko was saying in his press conference earlier was that very much he was getting assurances in private. These assurances in private weren't on camera, weren't given to reporters, and it will be intriguing to see at what stage further detail comes out and who has put up this promise of lethal aid to support the government in Kiev.
Fascinating stuff. Richard Bestick, thanks so much for your report.